Hello viewers, my name is Mametus Iledi and welcome to this channel. Today we're going to talk about stakeholder analysis. Very often we take decisions, we run our businesses, it can be an operations related business or a functional business, or we even do projects without taking the pain to really identify our stakeholders, get to understand their perspective of things, know their requirements, so that we can manage these requirements whilst we take those decisions or run our businesses or execute our projects. It is essential that we do take the time to really identify who are our stakeholders. By the way, stakeholders are typically individuals, organizations, or groups that can be affected or have interest. Sometimes even they perceive to be affected by your project, decision, or organization. So by this definition, it's important to really identify these stakeholders. Usually we have something we call stakeholder conference. So you can brainstorm whatever activity that I'm doing. It can be a project. Who are the stakeholders? Who are the people that can be affected? Who are the people that may perceive to be affected? Who are the groups? Who are the organizations? You brainstorm and come up with this list. And we can have stakeholders internally or externally. So when we talk about internal stakeholders, we are talking about employees, we are talking about senior management, we're talking about contractors that we are working with, and so on and so forth. We also have external stakeholders such as competitors, local authorities like the ministry, department, and agencies that regulate your business activities. You can talk about customers, suppliers. These could all be considered as external stakeholders. Now, once you are able to come up with a list, you try to put them into what we call the stakeholder power interest grid. And this grid is made up of 4 quadrants. And when you plot your stakeholders based on their power and interest in your project, you'll be able to segregate and map them on these 4 quadrants. So the first quadrant is those stakeholders who have low interest and then low power. So they are very insignificant impact on your project, But we also have those with high power, with low interest, and those stakeholders, you need to keep them satisfied because they have a lot of power. And if they are not happy with your decision, your project, they could impact it significantly. So you need to keep them satisfied. We also have those that have high interest with low power, So if they have a lot of interest, assuming it's a local authority that has interest in your project, of course, sorry, this may be not a local authority. Of course, local authority may be the ones with high power with low interest. But let's take a look at the community. They may have a lot of interest in your project, but they don't have that much power. You also need to keep them informed. Maybe they feel that the project that you are doing or the decision that you are about to take may impact them in a negative way. So it's important to engage them and keep them informed about progress of affairs so that they know that they are not going to be impacted negatively. And in the last quadrant, those stakeholders that are mapped here are those with high power and high interest. These are very, very important stakeholders, and you really need to manage them very closely. get their specific requirement and you must fulfill those requirements. You need to keep them updated all the time with respect to progress so that they don't, come up one day and just stop your project. Now, stakeholder identification is being taken for granted, especially when we execute projects. And most of the time, it costs us so much because we don't take the time to engage them, get their perspective, get their requirements so that we can execute our project according to those requirements. We just try to do things without engaging them. And in the middle of our project execution, they'll start to come one after the other and demand certain things. And when you are not able to fulfill those things immediately, it's going to affect your schedule, it's going to affect your budget. And together, if you don't take time, you're going to have a very challenging project or even a failed one because you did not identify your stakeholders. So once you finish with the prioritization, you need to move to understand your stakeholders, find out how they feel about your project, your business, the decisions that you are about to take. You can engage them through a meeting or a conference, or you can also send out questionnaire for them to respond, specifically designed for them to give you feedback for you to understand how they feel about your project. Now, once you done with that, you now create a stakeholder analysis matrix where you can, customize. You can customize the metrics based on your own need, but generally make sure that it involves what is the name of the stakeholder, what is the power and level of interest that they've got on your project, on your organization, the decision that you want to take. Look at the point of contact for that stakeholder so that if you need to communicate, is it an email? Is it what do you call it? A telephone call? Will it be an SMS or even a WhatsApp that you communicate with those stakeholders? Understand what kind of priority you place on those stakeholders, their impact on your project, and last but not the least, the engagement strategy that you're going to use. How are you going to engage them? Are you going to just send them reports, or are you going to call them for periodic meetings so that you can update them on affairs? So this is very important to summarize this in your stakeholder metrics, so that from time to time you review these metrics and make sure that you fulfill the requirement as per the metrics. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is it for today. And let me emphasize that, guys, those of you who are in projects, this is one of the primary failures of projects, failing to recognize or identify your stakeholders, get to know their requirements, and manage them properly so that the chances of your project success is high. If not, you can really, really uh, impact on your project negatively just because you've not identified your stakeholders. Don't forget to comment, share this video, and then also subscribe. That is very important.